Hey folks, my name's Kevin and it's time for a little bit more knife nerdery. This is going to be some pretty exciting knife nerdery and it's also really overdue because I did bad and I genuinely forgot that I hadn't opened this up yet, and it's been sitting on my floor for a while, and what's inside it is actually really pretty important. What's in here is one very expensive knife that is now mine, another also pretty darn expensive knife that is technically only on loan to me, and something that was handmade for me by my friend. And so I really should have opened this up a while ago, and Casper, I am sorry that I just truly genuinely forgot. That name should sound familiar to you if you watch my channel, because Casper is the guy I bought this off of. This is the Urban EDC Supply exclusive Workman Segai version of the Pena X Series Apache. That is a lot. It's a mouthful. And I bought this off my friend Casper. He's over in Norway, where, amongst other things in his regular life, he, as kind of a hobby, kind of a profession, makes wooden spoons and kitchen utensils. And so he gifted me this. This is like a spreader spoon for like soft cheeses or butter or something like that. And he included this as a surprise in the box when I bought this. And I ended up buying another knife off of him, which we'll see in here today. And I liked this so much that I commissioned a custom tool, and we'll see what that's in here too. So let's use this to open this up and let's get going. So last time I got a box from him, he filled it with the shreds of his wood carving as packaging material, and it made a delightful mess all over my desk. So we'll see if he did that again. He did not. Okay, so 3 things in here. I'm going to keep this one slightly off so it's not spoiled just yet. Let's start with this. I said that I ordered a custom made tool from him, and he makes these entirely from hand. He uses an axe to he uses a saw to cut off pieces of a tree that he falls from a forest near him, and then he uses an axe to rough out the shape. Then he carves it down to continuing levels of refinement until he gets to these end finished products. And he sells both spatulas and spoons. And what I asked him to make was a hybrid of the two, because my 2 most used kitchen utensils are these. This is a flat spatula. This is, I think, from OXO, and I use this all the freaking time. I like this flat surface for scraping, but I also absolutely love this. This is called a spoonula, and it is basically a spoon-shaped spatula. And so it also has a flat edge, but this is flexible, so it's not, because this one's made of silicone, and so this isn't made for scraping. But I figured, what I would really love is a hybrid of the two, and so he custom made this for me. This is something he kind of created the shape based off of trying to imagine if that red one was made out of wood. I forget exactly what kind of wood he said this was made out of. I'll pop that in as an overlay, but it was something he was working with and he was really pleased with. Let's see what the end result looks like. Oh, oh, I love it. Oh, I absolutely love it. Okay, this is going to be great. So what we have here is a long wooden handle. Look at the curvature there. This is all done entirely with knives. This is not, I said it's roughed out with an axe, but there's no sandpaper involved. And so one of the things that I really love about this is that you can see all of the little micro angles and beveling everywhere, then how he rounds this out. That fact that you can really truly see the mark of the maker on this is what makes these things feel so cool. And it's just so freaking neat that Casper does this entirely by hand. Look at this. So this is going to be perfect for scraping. It's big enough to be able to do turning. It's a shallow enough, a deep enough bowl to be able to scoop up some stuff and taste stuff or be able to turn, but still entire thing is thin enough to be able to get under stuff. I absolutely love it. And it's just so freaking cool you made this. Yeah, so Casper does sell this stuff. He goes on Instagram by the name Skjeavtre. I know I'm butchering that. I don't speak Norwegian. He gave me a pronunciation lesson one time, and it's close enough. And it literally means wooden spoon, or wood, spoon of tree, effectively. And so he makes all sorts of really cool things. So if you want to get something like this, or something similar, you can hit him up on Instagram. I will link that, of course, down below. So next up is the thing I bought off of him. Do you recognize one of these pouches? I've shown one of these on my channel before. This, yeah. Okay. This is the Trevor Burger Knives. Well, Trevor Burger Customs, TBC Urban. And you might call it the, ooh, this is really tight. You might call it the, you might call it the Urban EDC because that's what the production version is going to be. But this is so cool. This is a collaboration that Trevor Burger did with Urban EDC Supply. And I've been saying the name Urban EDC Supply a lot of times on this channel recently. And I get that maybe that's going to come across as annoying, or maybe they'll come across as a shill kind of thing because I have an affiliate link with them. But the reason they keep coming up is because they just do really freaking cool stuff. They keep making these really neat collaborations with custom makers so that people can get production versions of custom knives. They also just have a lot of custom knives on there. And so Trevor Burger has historically made things like this. This is the, wow, I'm goofing that up on camera, but this is the LEXK. I have an entire long small details review on this that explains what the difference is between the LEXK and the EXK and the CFL and the base and the plus and all that kind of stuff. But he's always made an LEXK and an EXK, which are the small and the big version. And they come in the sheep's foot, or they come in a drop point. And what he did with this Urban is he designed a knife to kind of fit in between those two. The LEXK is a 3 3/8 inch knife, I think, maybe 3 1/4, something along those lines. And then the EXK is 2.75, and this is right there in the middle at 3. And that's one of the reasons why I was really excited to see that they're excited that he made this knife to begin with, because that 3-inch range is my absolute sweet spot. And I kind of figured that I would like it more than the 2.75-inch EXK. The other thing that's a big difference between these, and you can probably tell this right off the bat from these handles. Wow, wow. I love this. This is one of the things, sorry, I got sidetracked. This is one of the things that makes Trevor Burger knives just so freaking special, is they are insanely glassy. Yeah, that's incredible. That is so cool. Anyway, where I was going is this is angular. So the EXK and the LEXK models, and even the Atlas, which has a slightly different shape and a taller flipper tab to accommodate it, they have just curves everywhere, right? And yeah, there's like a corner here, but there's just curves. And for the Urban, or the Urban EDC, he introduced these kind of sharp corners. And it's not that he's never made a knife with sharp corners before. I mean, these aren't sharp, I shouldn't say sharp. These, they're just corners. But this, he's never made a knife that basically fits so well into the kind of, wow, the detent on this is stiffer than I'm used to, that fit into that kind of EXK, LEXK range with sharper corners. The reason I didn't initially get in on this on the drop, because he did I'm talking all over myself. He came up with this design as a collaboration with Urban EDC Supply to make a production knife. And it was never going to be a custom knife originally. He came up with this design to do it as a production from the get-go, and is going to be called the Urban EDC, to be the perfect knife for EDC in an urban environment. But he ended up liking the pattern so much that he decided to do a small run of these as custom productions that he did in-house. And he only did pre-order drop of 50. It was a lottery to get in. And the reason why I didn't originally enter is because, honestly, I just didn't like this. This is really it. This is the only reason. Everything else about this is so incredibly right up my alley, but I just was like, why did he put a protruding lanyard hole on such a clean, beautiful knife? But the reality is the more I looked at it, the more this stopped bothering me, and the more I kind of wished I'd gotten in on it. And so when my friend Casper did get in on this, and then decided that he needed, to invest funds elsewhere, and he was going to try and move this along, he offered to sell this to me, and I was like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll do it. He gave me a really nice deal on this too. And the reality is, one of the reasons why this really bugged me is because it sticks out past the handle here, and that's just a pet peeve of mine on knives. Whenever when the only thing that's going to be pressing into your hand is a narrower spot. But this is so flush with this that honestly, it kind of completely eliminates that problem, because I didn't think I would, and I don't feel that really the press in. There is going to be a production version that's coming at some point this year, I think this fall, with UrbanedC Supply. And what I'm hoping is, because I do have an affiliate link with them, and I'm part of their ambassador program, I'm hoping that I can get my hands on one of the productions versions so that I can compare them side by side. I don't know who's going to be done through, probably Riot, just from who else what they tend to work through. But they, and so it'd be really, really interesting to see just what is different between this, Riot does kind of perfect production, and this is a handmade object. Yeah, there's machines used in this, but it's not the same kind of when Trevor does a run of 50 of these, there's going to be subtle differences between all of them. And when Riot does a run of 300 or something, there's going to be virtually no differences between any of them. So one of the things that was really important to me is that I can do this. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. That was the big ta-da moment that made me realize I needed to get one of these, is that the fact that I like front flipper knives, but these are really good front flippers, but it's never my favorite opening method. And so if a knife is only a front flipper, it's probably not a knife that's going to be one of my absolute faves. And so the fact that I can middle finger flick it meant that it was suddenly a way more enjoyable knife for me. And this is something that Casper promised would work, and it does. And I'm telling you right now, yeah, this is designed as a front flipper, but I am going to be doing this every single time. If you don't understand what I'm doing, it's because the blade is sticking out far enough from the handle, and this bevel is sticking out to the very top. So if a knife has a flat that runs the entire way, it's a lot harder to do. If it has a swedge that goes the opposite direction, a lot harder to do. But when the bevel, the primary grind, is coming up to the top, it means that there's this ramp surface in here. And so what you can do is hold the knife like this, lay your finger flat against it, and you have plenty of grip to just then flick your finger out and pull the knife out with it like that. And it just works tremendously well. This has a hand satin finish, just like he did over here. And one of the things I was really curious about is just how thin this would be. Ooh. So, jeepers. Oh my God. So one of the things that makes Trevor's knives so freaking crazy is that he does these hollow grinds that are insane. They're just so thin for so long. And I got to originally play with an LEXK in this kind of sheep's foot spear pointing kind of pattern from Kevin Lefty EDC. And and that was the full size blade. And man, it just blew me away how incredibly thin this was. And so this, to me, being in the smaller size, I've never handled one of the small ones, but this to me feels like it is basically the same kind of thing going on. That one was so thin that it didn't hit 40 thousandths behind until all the way up there. And this feels the same kind of thing where you run your fingers over it and it honestly just feels like you're touching your fingers. You can't feel the metal between them. The kinesthetic sense makes you just feel like the fingers are in the same spot as each other. I've been noticing, like I said twice now, that this is a lot snappier. So this deployment, this is just kind of Yeah, this is, I think it's a tighter, a firmer detent. Yeah, it definitely is. I definitely feel like I'm having to kind of press a little bit harder and build up pressure, and so yeah, I'm getting a really, really snappy snap on that. But it's not hard to do, but it's harder to do. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Maybe I can, this doesn't feel like it's very strong lock bar pressure, so maybe I could tune this and make that a little bit softer, but I probably don't care. How does this fall? Falls like that. So if, depending on how I'm holding my hand, yeah, okay. So it falls to my nail in the spot where my finger's right up behind that. Ooh, look at that. Oh, that's perfect. That is perfectly done. The sharpening, the plunge grind that takes it from the full thickness to the thinnest behind the edge comes right there, which means that's the very top of this. This is this entire thing thinned out. So you can sharpen that entire distance there. And that also gives the, like I said, the spot for it to fall to my nail like that. This does the kind of thing where this kind of catches my finger a little bit, but oh yeah, that's so easy. Look how smooth that is. Okay, the fact that this is harder to open, like just in a firmer thing, is all the more reason why I probably will open it like this every single time, because that works perfectly. What else should I be looking at on this? I'll do a full review on this for sure, but just, okay, looking at all the little details here. Well, one of the things I definitely want to mention right off the bat is this entire time that I've been holding this feels insanely light to me. It really kind of, I haven't mentioned it yet, but it caught me off guard immediately that this felt really light, because this doesn't feel heavy, but it feels like it's kind of solid throughout. And the reason is because there's no internal milling on this. Here, let's get some light to reflect back up. Yeah, if you look inside this, there is no milling. It's just flat slabs. But if you look inside this, look at that. Look at all that milling. Yeah, this is exceptionally milled out inside. And so the result is that this feels really, really light. I'm not normally someone that measures stuff on camera in videos, but it's actually really, I want to know how much this is. Yeah. Wow. That's super freaking exact. So this is exactly, to 3 decimal places, 2.5 ounces on a 3-inch blade. And that's why we're getting such an incredibly lightweight knife. Where's the balance as a result? Right there? Okay, that's actually further back than I was expecting. Ideally, you'd want it right where your index finger is. So probably right about there. But how does this feel in hand? Wow, 18 minutes in, finally talking about how it feels in hand. Yeah, this fits in my hand perfectly. And that's all the more why I was saying I was excited that this was a 3-inch knife instead of a 2.75. I thought those would be a little bit small. This curve right here feels great. How does this fit back here? Yeah, I really don't mind that at all. This is so flush that feels really, really nice. Okay, if I want to choke up. Ooh, yeah, this is a grip I will probably use all of the time. Not all, I'm going to use frequently. I put my finger right here where you can see there's this really nice scallop. And then I'm going to put my finger right there on the edge of the blade and wrap this around. And this is going to be for detailed work. And yeah, that will work really, really nice. I can't get over how lightweight this thing is. Any other grips that I care about for this? I'm not really going to hold anything other than like this, that. Okay, I'm going to move on. I will do, of course, a full review on this, and I'll compare it to this. And if someday I get the production version of this in, I will absolutely do a side by side. But my gut reaction is I'm actually really thrilled that I got this, because this is kind of just an absolutely perfect EDC knife. And so I'm going to use it as that. Oh, I forgot a couple other things I want to mention real quick. This particular one is serial number 4, but there is no engraving on it because Casper is even more of a purist than I am. And so Trevor was putting TBC and then the serial number on it right there, and Casper asked for him to just leave it off entirely. And so I know he offered to do it internally, but I don't think it was done internally anywhere. Maybe it was, and I'll just have to find that, and maybe it'll pop up in a small details review. But I think this one is completely nude. He also offered a couple annotation things. The other thing I wanted to mention is just this clip, because historically he's always used these flat, straight clips, and they're really nice. They're really functional, but they've always felt like kind of an aesthetic afterthought. They just kind of, so much the rest of the knife has like really elegant curves to it that are very deliberate feeling. And so the fact that this is just kind of straight has always felt kind of like an afterthought, like I said. And so I was very pleased to see that when he created this, he made a clip that is in line in a way and kind of flows with the knife and looks like it kind of fits with the shape and overall style more. That is so freaking smooth. Oh man, if you can afford a burger and you care about something like the glassy, true glassy smooth feel, you owe it to yourself to feel one of these at some point. How's this work? That's pretty good. That's not like too springy, not too tight. That feels like it's gonna be good. Okay, I'm gonna move on. And because we've got an entire extra knife to look at. Do you recognize that? That's a she or a che. I don't really know. I don't understand Russian. That is the symbol for like the CH-SH hybrid sound that Russian has. And yeah, what do we got here? This is, how do you pronounce that? It's like Masterskaya Cheburkova? I think that's what it is. Masterskaya Cheburkova, which literally means Cheburkov workshop. And so yeah, this is Masterskaya Cheburkova. This is a Cheburkov knife. And specifically, this is going to be a Cheburkov Strizh, which literally just means swift. And I'll probably stop saying it quite so forcedly because I am sure I'm butchering it. So I'm just going to say like Cheburkov maybe. Yeah, let's go with that. I guess it comes with this kind of laminated COA card. That's a lot of little information on a single card, and it's all in Russian, so I can't pronounce that at all. But what is this? Oof. So this is a knife from Russian maker Alexander Cheburkov or Alexander Cheburkov. I don't know, whatever. I'm going to stop it again. And he is a guy that... he's been making knives for a really long time. Like he started making knives in the 90s, I think. And he started his career as like a metal worker. And then that turned into slowly working on knives. He was working on cars for a while back then. And he originally started in fixed blades. And these days he runs a very small factory in Russia where he and a tiny team of people make, yeah, I guess you'd call these extremely small batch, extremely high-end production knives. So they're basically the same kind of thing as like and as I brought this out on purpose, like a Cheburkov. So these are both production knives, and they're just really, really high-end production knives. And I've never handled one of these before, and I'm pretty familiar with how these turned out and just how incredibly high end that kind of machining is, how tight everything is. And so it's going to be really, really cool to check this out. This one is on loan to me, but it's not going to be sent back to Casper. He actually has donated this to Nick Shabazz for an upcoming charitable giveaway. And so after that, I am done doing a full small details review on this, and I think I'm definitely going to want to, pretty light detent. I'm going to have to send it over to Nick. Wow, that felt really nice. So yeah, this is a light detent, but the placement of this means that's super duper easy. You can see the blade styling of this is just kind of what I've come to recognize as quintessentially Russian. They just tend to do these long, sleek, minimalist blades, and even the finishing on this is nearly identical. It's this like kind of lustery, smoky almost looking. I don't even know what you'd call it. It doesn't look like a stonewash or a bead blast or anything. It's just this kind of hazy glow that's really, really pretty. This one appears to have a bit of a polished edge to it. I don't know if that's something that Casper did. One thing that bugs me really bad on these is the singular thumb stud. Why? It looks like there'd be not as good of clearance, but plenty of clearance there. And so, I'm just dying to middle finger flick this knife. Wait, can I middle finger flick this knife? So let's see if we can do that exact same thing. I'm going to fail here almost assuredly, but let's see if we can do that exact same thing, because you can see there's some amount of blade sticking up over here, and that is the grind the entire way, because this is a full flat grind. So is it possible for me to get my finger in here? Oh, I'm an idiot. That's so good. Can I do it up here? I can! It's not super duper easy. What if I do it? Yeah, I bet you I can do this. That's actually not that hard. Yeah, okay, so this is officially a middle finger flickable knife. Not the easiest in the world. It would certainly be a heck of a lot easier if it had a thumb stud. I've actually been told that he has done a dual studded version on request before. Okay, how does this feel in hand? Yeah, okay, I get it. This is one of those kind of flat slab knives, and that's one of the reasons why it appealed to Casper. He has very, very minimalist taste, as we talked about here, with him asking to have absolutely no markings on it, no anodization. But that's the same thing that I have. I don't think I'm quite as minimalist as Casper, which is why I love things like this as well, and why this was right up my alley, but too pretty for him. But what you get, I would probably like this knife even a little bit more if it had slightly contoured handles here, or if these came in and brought these in a little bit deeper to make them a little bit more of a net contoured feel, or if there was some kind of milling. Like I actually really like the swirls on these. I find them really, really beautiful. But this kind of minimalism is really still very appealing to me. And one of the nice things about it being flat instead of contoured is that you get really, really good indexing on the knife. What I mean when I say that is that I can immediately tell where I am on this knife and that it's not twisting in my hand and how I'm holding it. And so you get a really good sense of how it's oriented in your hand. And that's one of the benefits you get. And the fact that there is this kind of pretty like big even chamfer across the entire thing means that it still feels really pretty nice in your hand. I will say that these are kind of hard still corners. Like this you can see that there's a micro chamfer. Yeah, you see how it's glowing right there? That's the main chamfer, that's the front surface, and that's the micro chamfer glowing right there along the edge. And so it's not like a hard 90-degree angle, but it is still kind of crisp. If we come along the back and look at how this backspacer fits in, yeah, that's really nice. Really nice and even. You can see there's this internal chamfer right there. I am not a fan of lock bar jimping. I'm certainly not a fan of this style. This is basically crenulation, where it looks like the top of a castle. And so this is like probably my least favorite kind of jimping because it is very crisp, very spread out. I want it to be shallow and it's deep. I want it to be shallow, tight together. And basically what I want jimping to look like this. This is not everywhere is this going to be perfect, but for most cases, if you're going to have jimping on a knife, this is kind of perfect jimping. It's sharp, but shallow and very close together. And so you can press on this as hard as you want and it's not going to hurt. So I was saying I was having to push kind of hard on this at first. Yeah, I'm still having to kind of push kind of hard. And it doesn't hurt at all. It doesn't like dig into your thumb. This does. But the reality is it's not sticking out too proud. I think that's one of the things is that it's deep, But when you come at from this perspective, in terms of how much is sticking out above this handle, it's not very deep. And so I suppose if I'm pressing like this and also pressing on the lock bar, then it's not really. No, I still don't like that. I would want this jimping to just be completely removed. This up here is actually just like, this is just what I wanted. Yeah, that's funny that he does it better up here than he does down there. See how much wider this is and how much closer together this is? That, yep, that's basically perfect jimping right there. This is the kind of stuff where it locks your finger in super well, but doesn't hurt to press on. I don't know what the blade stock is on this. I think it's listed as 0.14. This is also 0.14. These are actually both, neither of these are 0.14, they're 0.1375. They're 3.5 millimeters, my guess. And so this is the kind of thing where it's not the thinnest in the world, but it actually isn't that bad. And this is also a little bit thinner in this dimension than I was expecting. How thin is that compared to this? Yeah, it's a little bit thinner still. You can see that this is a little bit shorter of a blade. I'm also not someone that normally does size comparisons, but there you go. This is a very, very comparable size. This is, I think this is 3.35. This is, I think, 3.25. And so I'm guessing that means that this is, yeah, ever so slightly taller. I mean, longer of a blade. But this is like still within my sweet spot, maybe just a hair longer. This is the small Strizh. And so there is a much, much bigger one. I don't know what the size on that one is. What the heck does that say? That appears to be a production date. It says 2021 on it and something else. And there's the Skjeavtre thing and M390. What else would we do about this? The action itself is very, very free-fally. Like I said earlier, that is very light. I don't know if it will fall out. Yes, it can shake out, but I had to press that. I had to do that pretty hard. I'm hearing this feels like a very small amount of blade detent wobble. Is that actually detent wobble? Yeah, I think there's a very small amount of detent wobble. Yeah, I think that's what that is. Sometimes it's hard to tell because it might not be. This is so light of a detent bar that I think what I might actually be doing is just pulling it up the side of the detent ball. That could be what's happening because it takes such little effort to do that. Like I said, I had to shake it pretty hard. Under normal shakery, it's not going to come out, but it does mean that this is relying on. Yeah, no, it's really easy to do. Oh, you know, something I've always wondered, I think this can be used as a front flipper, but my least favorite kind. So if you look at this, this is, this has jimping that runs up around the top, and that means that you are able to kind of use traction to pull, but it also has this lever arm distance, and I don't think it works quite as nicely as on this. Here, my lever arm distance is this entire length, and as I come over, I'm sliding down this shape, and so I'm not getting interfered with by anything because I'm actually above the top of this. And here, I'm kind of in line with the top of this, and so if I push in like the kind of angle I'd want to push at means I'm kind of slightly maybe going to run into this, but either way, I'm able to use lever arm distance and some grip. And what we have here is something that's coming completely flush. And this is the kind of thing you'll find on a lot of knives that are like technically front flippable. And so like the Monterey Bay knife Sea Otter is technically front flippable, but it comes flush and they're not putting any jimping up here. And so if I'm able to do this, it's going to be entirely based on traction and pulling the knife up. But it looks like I'm going to be able to do that. This is one of those things where it's not super intuitive to me right off the bat, but you can see that I am succeeding. And so I bet you if I got used to it, I could probably front flip this pretty easily. But part of what is happening right here is I'm having to come pretty low down on this and pull up. But that means that since I'm starting so low, look what's coming into my thumb right there. That thumb stud is right in the path of where my thumb is trying to be. And so I think I need to be more concerted in like the getting my thumb out of the way. Whereas on something like this, yeah, I'm not having to move my thumb quite as much. So this technically is front flippable, but it's not the easiest front flip in the world. This is an inset liner lock, and that's one of my favorite kinds because it means that you don't have like the liner, but the lock bar is not sitting flush with this bar here. The reason why I like that and the reason why that matters is because it means that you can't pinch yourself on the lock bar. A lot of times if you push on a knife that doesn't have an inset liner, and you have a little gap right here that you can basically kind of wedge and pinch your finger in, but these mean that it's basically impossible to pinch yourself in that same kind of way. I do think that it could be slightly easier to unlock this, and what I would probably do is just make this exposed part of the liner lock just a little bit further down. You can see that it is recessed right there, but they are kind of relying on you using these little granulation jimping things, and yeah, that's just not my favorite. It's very, very smooth to close, but that's in part because this is a light lock bar, so there's not a lot of force there. I don't know what this is running on. It sure looks like bearings. Yeah, it seems to be bearings. I know that he has done versions in washers in the past, but that's, yeah. If you can see what I'm doing, this is just like extremely mild shaking. It's going home. So if I try to actually close it, is there any blade play? Nope, that's very, very solid, so that's good to see. Does this fall to my nail? Yeah, it does. You can see it's falling in this spot right here. And so it's not actually hitting my nail, although it sure is coming close. So if my nail is big, my thumb was bigger, you might have this hit your nail. Oh, you can also see that right there. See how the back is already starting to smile? It's this gleaming part right at the end there is already taller. But that's actually kind of surprising to see because look at the way that this is ground. This is doing the same kind of plunge grind that you'll find on something like a Cheburkov, where it's a straight line plunge. It's not like a curve plunge the same way. And so there's like an actual defined angle right here. And this is actually very, very tight. You know, yeah, I'm honestly surprised to see that this little bit of a smile right there, because this appears to be all the way thin back to there. It actually kind of seems like the edge is coming down a little bit unnaturally. Like they just didn't grind it completely flat. That is interesting. I probably should stop talking, and this is coming up to 40 minutes. I will do a full small details review on this. There's no because this is cool enough that I actually was considering getting one, and I still might. But if I do get one, I'm gonna either try and see if I can get one that has the second thumb stud already, or I would get it modified to replace this thumb stud. And I don't know how damaging that is. But I do actually really quite like this knife. The thing is though, like with something like this and something like this, between these two, I'm going to pick this one. It's just lighter, more my style, and everything about it is just a little bit more me. But I think this is actually really, really pretty darn spectacular. And if you're looking for this kind of really sleek minimalist knife and you're trying to find something that's not quite as expensive as the Cheburkov range, this is still expensive. I think this is like $380, but these things are twice that. So not quite. I think they're a little bit less. This might be actually a really great option for you. And from the feel of it, it really does feel, I mean, it feels incredibly well made. Not quite as the same kind of tolerance feel, but the way everything moves still feels very, yeah, this still feels very good. Oh, that's another thing. This is really easy to slow roll. Because of how light that is, you can really easily just do that. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. Let's bring everything back into shot for a moment. This is the Cheburkov Strizh, the small Strizh, the small Swift. This is the Trevor Burger Urban, or Urban EDC. He calls these Urbans, but the full knife is called the Urban EDC. And this is my Spoonula, made for me by Casper. So a long time in waiting. Casper, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for sending these things all the way from Norway to me. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.